Welcome to SOL 106, Study Session 4, Community Development Theories 2, Introduction. In the previous study session, we discussed the relevance of theory of community development and examined the implication of Maslow's theory of needs to community development. In this study session, you will explore the diffusion, basic resources export-led, and empowerment theories. You will also explore how participation can be involved within the community. Learning outcomes. After you have studied this study session, you should be able to 1. Describe diffusion theory of community development. 2. Explain basic resources theory of community development. 3. Explain export-led theory. 4. Discuss the features of empowerment. 5. Present how you can promote participation. Diffusion theory. It is a process whereby ways of life and ideas spread from one community or nation to another. For example, the modern-day marriage ceremony in Nigeria is greatly influenced by foreign cultures. It is a mixture of traditional marriage, payment of dowry, and so on, and the modern system of going to church, mosque, or court. Culture easily spread from one nation to another. By nature, human beings are very imitative. All nations borrow from one another to advance in modern civilization. Cultural diffusion is therefore for cultural enrichment through influences and practices of other cultures. Abiona, 2003. The diffusion theory encourages the community members to arrive at or embark upon a project after examining and re-examining their felt needs, assessments, and identification. Nevertheless, the theory is not without the flaw or shortcoming of delay at embarking on agreeable felt needs. It is time-consuming. This theory also believes that the application of the technology to raise productivity of people and land depends on the socialization of the masses to a large extent to the community's well-to-do citizens, especially people of substance in the society. The argument is that the more this exercise is successfully conducted, the more the community's transformation and social development through the active participation of the people. Basic resources theory. This theory places emphasis on the role of basic natural resources or environmental resources in the development of any community. It states that economic growth or any growth at all depends to a large extent on the presence, quality, and magnitude of the basic natural resources within a particular community setup. It states that there is no way communities that have little or no natural or environmental resources will develop as fast as those that have basic resources. In spite of the importance of natural resources in community development, some scholars have argued that the mere availability of basic resources is not sufficient or adequate to guarantee development in a community. They contend that, in the long run, what really counts in community development is availability of citizen participation, initiative, cooperation, and a sort of leadership that is strongly dedicated to the objectives being proposed, rather than the mere availability of environment or natural resources. This theory helps community to identify and access the available human, material, or financial resources in their locality and utilize them for meaningful development. Members of the community will be motivated by the community development officers, the change agents, to initiate and implement their felt needs. The citizen should be encouraged to cooperate with one another and with the change agents. Also, the community members, through the cooperative efforts, should participate very actively in almost all the aspects of development of their society. With this theory, the target community will be mobilized and sensitized to utilize very well the financial, material, and human resources in their locality. Diffusion theory is a process whereby ways of life and ideas spread from one community or nation to another. The diffusion theory encourages the community members to arrive at or embark upon a project after examining and re-examining their felt needs. Assessment and identification, but basic resources theory places emphasis on the role of basic natural resources or environmental resources in the development of any community. Export-led theory. This theory speaks of the role external factors or agents such as governmental, non-governmental organizations and other external agencies in bringing about social economic changes in a community. Anyanwu C.N. 1992 supports this theory with his submission that although communities are expected to execute their programs with reliance on their resources, contributions of external agencies must be considered as quite important. With the active participation of the community members in the community development program, this theory will create awareness for the external factors mentioned above about their roles and dedication to the growth of the communities. On many occasions, members of some communities have their developmental spirits and initiatives killed when there is little or no supportive effort from the government to external agencies. Lack of funds and other material resources has contributed in no small measure to the failure or abandonment of many projects. The target community may not know is the adequate, necessary or correct buttons to press that can bring about external resources either from the government or other external factors. It is responsibility of the change agents representing the government's interest in the community as well as the community development associations to organize educational programs through active community in seeking for or tapping the external aids and resources to supplement the community-generated ones, human, material, and financial resources. Theory of empowerment as related to community development. Empowerment has become a popular concept in regeneration strategies for disadvantaged communities. Helen B., 1955. The concept is often and easily used among ideologies and different schools of thought, but with different meaning. Community members taking more direct role over their lives and areas. They should have more control over their lives and areas. Participate actively in identifying and responding to local needs and opportunities. Participate actively in the delivery of services and control and ownership of local assets. Therefore, if communities obtain more influence or control over the definition of the response to them, then such communities are seen as having been increasingly empowered. This observation informal reason why Barr 1995 described empowerment as the degree to which or process by which mobilization of local self-interest is seen as a primary mechanism for empowerment. Empowerment theory. The key features which a purposive empowerment process must underscore in any community development efforts are: 1. Empowerment must take place at different levels and must take into consideration the different interests of people in a community, such as age, gender, race, and so on. 2. Empowerment process must recognize conflicts of interest, real or imagined. Between such conflicts often direct energies of disadvantaged groups into self-defeating and mutually disempowering activity. Such conflict frequency requires meditation as a prerequisite to empowerment. 3. Empowerment process must seek to develop local skills and knowledge so that communities will have skill and knowledge to undertake both analysis of need and assessment of the efficacy of different strategies. 4. Empowerment process must ensure communities have access to resources which are made available to local interests and must be effectively managed. Participation and community development. The terms participation and empowerment are highly synonymous and are often used interchangeably by scholars. This appears to be no difference in the conceptualization, usage, and in practice between the two terms, since their meaning is interwoven. However, we shall still attempt to show the difference in the meanings of the two terms. Participation is one out of the many procedures used in the processes of empowerment. Buttressing this view, Oyebamiji 2000 argues that participation enables individuals to exercise some controls over planned change. The implication of the definition given by Anyanwu 1992 is that community participation is an instrument par excellence for community mobilization. This is because it will help to elicit the interest, willingness, and preparedness of the people to participate either in cash or in material to their own community development. Needs for encouraging community participation. Community participation may be encouraged by government as well as non-government organizations for the following reasons. Empowerment purpose. This is seeking to increase local control over resources and decisions affecting the lives of the people living within a community. Capacity building purpose. This involves ensuring active involvement in projects planning and implementation, especially through self-help or formal training and consciousness awareness activities. Effectiveness purpose. Government and non-governmental organizations may want to involve the community so as to ensure that the project achieves the set objectives and that the benefit derivative from the implemented projects goes to the intended groups. Cost-sharing purpose. Beneficiaries may be asked to contribute money or labor or goods during the implementation of the project so as to share the burden of costs. Efficiency purpose. This aims at reducing costs and wastes as well as maximizing project benefits. It is believed that beneficiary consultation during planning will ensure that needs of people are met, while beneficiary involvement during implementation will reduce wastes and costs. Implements of community participation. Intensity of participation. The intensity of community participation can vary from information sharing through consultation and decision making to initiative taking. Methods of participation. The methods include leadership training programs, learning by practice consciousness awareness activities through their own needs, and identifying possible solutions. Stages of participation. Beneficiaries can be involved at any point in the project cycle. A number of World Bank operational manual statements acknowledge the need to take social factors into consideration and therefore provide a framework within which it can promote local level participation at all stages of identification, design, implementation, and sustainability of development projects. Agents of participation. These include field workers of the project agency, paid or voluntary community workers, groups created for a specific purpose like self-help house construction groups, or existing community organizations. Level of participation. The community can be involved either in programs which are made up of several related projects, projects of activities at the national, state, or local levels. Targets of participation. Participants in this respect refer to the member community, which includes men, women, youth, and the poor. Efforts should be made to identify whether the project is being co-opted by powerful economic, political, or cultural groups to the exclusion of certain groups of intended project beneficiaries. There are various examples of where project organizers were unaware that large segments of the target population were effectively excluded from participation in the project and access to its benefits. Strategies for successful promotion of community participation. Ross, 1955, enumerates some strategies for successful promotion of community participation as follows. 1. As a developmental strategy to combat poverty, citizen participation must be kept distinct from classical charity and welfare, approaches which attempt to channel aid to the poor. Participation can be promoted effectively among the underprivileged such that with external assistance from change agencies, they can modify their present living conditions by means of self-help organizations. Participation should be in design as well as in execution. Participation starts at the age of deciding what to do and how to do it. It should continue throughout the project implementation, allowing feedback, control, and adjustment. Participation should impose no obligatory model. The rural population should be given the opportunity to develop their organizations. A priority set pace of development should not be determined. Every rural organization should be allowed to proceed at its own pace of development. Participation means response to felt needs. The objectives of organized people's participation should be an expression of the aspiration of groups, members to improve and to control circumstances of their lives. Participation should produce tangible benefits within a foreseeable period. Identification of appropriate take-off activities for local organization is crucial. Members should be called upon to voluntarily contribute from their resources. No matter how members are materially deprived, beneficiaries have to make some voluntary contributions in form or capital labor, and land. The organization should be socially viable. Participants must see themselves as a group with common interests and needs and must be able to work together. The organization must see themselves as partners in common action and expertise. There must be adequate concern for economic viability. Education should be used as a tool of remedy. The purpose of any educational program offered by promoting institutions should be to equip members of the organization with sufficient information and tools to facilitate meaningful community participation in decision-making. Community participation should foster leadership from the membership ranks. Study session summary. In this study session, we discussed diffusion theory of community development as a theory that encourages the community members to arrive at or embark in a project after examining and re-examining their felt needs, assessment, and identification. This study session also examined the basic resources theory, which states the significance of the basic natural resources or environmental resources in the development of any community. We also examined expert-led theory, which speaks about the roles of external factors or agents such as the governmental, non-governmental organizations, and other external agencies in bringing about social economic changes in a community with the active participation of the community members in the community development program. This theory will create awareness for the external factors mentioned above about their roles and dedication to the growth of the communities. We discussed the theory of participation in relation to community development. In the process, we noted the reasons for encouraging community participation and also mentioned elements of community participation as well as the method of community participation. We also discussed stages of participation, agents of participation, level of participation, as well as targets of participation. Lastly, we discussed various strategies for promotion of community development. We have come to the end of study session 4. Thank you very much for listening.